My name is Clayton. I'm president of the National Board of Psychedelic Club, and I want to talk today about something that I've seen play out in our communities, in our circles, and outside of our circles that needs attention, that is demanding to be addressed in our culture, inside of ourselves and outside of ourselves. That's the wounded masculine and the ways that it expresses in psychedelic community. Where the wounded masculine comes from, what our wounds are, why we're hurt, are only a part of this conversation. Much more relevant is what we do with the wounding, how we express ourselves. All of us carry wounds. All of us carry pains. All of us carry feelings of not being enough, of not receiving the attention that we needed, not receiving the love, the acceptance, the validation that we might have so desired when we were younger. Where it came from is relevant to the healing. It's true. But more relevant to this discussion is the way that it manifests, what we do with our wounds, how we may wound and how we may hurt other people. Some men, seeing that psychedelics are popular, trendy, sexy, are attracted to positions of power within the psychedelic community. Many people hold the same vision. Many people hold one heart, one goal, the idea of creating a more beautiful psychedelic world that will benefit all of us. Even those who are deeply, deeply wounded often hold this vision, hold this image. But many times, unfortunately, men attracted to positions of power as healers, as community leaders, as facilitators, and as guides, as therapists sometimes, are using their position of power not to heal, not to create a more psychedelic world, but to play out their own wounding. To play out their own wounding and to inflict pain on other people. We as men, in this community, in this culture, in this movement, have a responsibility before we position ourselves as leaders, as healers, as guides, as facilitators, whatever it may be. We have a responsibility to examine our own masculine wounding, to examine those parts of ourselves that don't feel acknowledged, that feel like we haven't had enough, that feel like we've been passed over or rejected. We have a responsibility to examine those most hurt parts of ourselves before we begin inviting people into our communities. Otherwise, we can't help but play out our patterns of wounding on those people around us. There was a situation in Denver in which a mushroom facilitator was inviting people into his circle under the guise of a healer. Come to me, I will heal your trauma, your wounds, capitalizing on the psychedelic attention and the psychedelic fervor to build a following of people. My dear sister was a member of his circle and reported to me one instance, which is just the instance that she saw, and I'm sure there were many, one instance where another woman described sexual abuse, sexual assault in what was supposed to be a safe container. The next day, my dear sister witnessed the facilitator making out in his kitchen with the woman who had just, in his healing circle, expressed sexual trauma. This is unacceptable behavior. Absolutely unacceptable. And it has to be addressed. And it has to be acknowledged in each one of us. We can't just point the finger and say, like, well, he's a wounded man, but I'm not a wounded man. I've healed all of my wounds. The degree to which we hide from our shadow is the degree to which it has control over us. The degree to which we hide from our shadow is the degree to which it has control over us. It's up to each of us, if you are a man in this movement seeking a position of power, to examine your wounds, how the availability of power might offer an opportunity for you to play out those masculine wounds in inappropriate relationships, inappropriate contacts. This is not even to mention the level of competency, true years of practice and competency required to sit with somebody in a psychedelic experience, required to process trauma. Sure, you can be a sitter, as in Zendo. You can be a harm reductionist. You can reduce harm, but to maximize benefit and to help people heal their trauma, to hold a genuinely safe container, that's much, much more practice. We don't get to just call ourselves facilitators and guides because we've eaten mushrooms many times, or because we've taken acid many times, or because we have a meditation practice. This is a specific therapeutic modality that people spend their whole lives learning. To adopt the clothes and the costume of a facilitator without having gone through the training, without having done the deep personal work, isn't only dishonest, it's actively harmful. And people are being harmed all the time. So as we create a more psychedelic world, as we contribute to the creation of a more beautiful vision for all of us, may we walk with awareness. May we know what we do, and may we examine those shadowy parts of ourselves. May we seek our shadows before they seek us.